requisite for your end subject. So we are covering today. The first one is your network, right? How the networking is grows nowadays. Then how it impacts in our day-to-day life. Right? We will see. Then exhaustively how networks we are using nowadays, right? So what are the different trends of a network that we will see. Then what are the different network components are there, what are the devices are there which we are using. Then we are seeing the types of the networks, like LAN, MAN, WAN, and as well as the PAN, right? All these things we are need to see. Then how the network can be represented, right? Which we can call it as an topology diagram or network diagram, right? So what are their types that we will see. And then last one is your network architecture, right? That is nothing but reliable networks. When you will called a network as your reliable network, right? Then and what are the different parameters of the reliable networks that we will see in today's lecture. Okay, so we will just start by the first point, that is your networking today, right? That is evolution of your network. Okay, so you might know in 1995, right, there is an mainframe computing and all computing platforms are there. At that time, if you wanted to use that particular computing platform, then you need to go to that particular physical location, you need to use that particular computing platforms, right? So that means you need to go to that particular devices or that particular system, right? So it is called as a fixed computing, right? The computation or computing systems are fixed physically, right? If you wanted to use that particular service, you need to go there and then you will to use that particular service. Okay, then after all, in 2000 era, the networking some growth are there, and it will be changed to your BYOD, that is the bring your own devices. That is some mobility to their computing platforms are there. Okay, that means the whenever you go, right, the devices is with you, right? You have might listen that one advertise of your Vodafone, right? The wherever you go, our network follows you, right? Likewise the devices are with you. Wherever you go, you can carry your devices, like for example the mobile phones, laptops, right, e-readers. You have all these devices with you, right, while traveling or any other thing, right? So after that again the era change, right? We are using this networking exhaustively on some electronics components as well, right? So in 2011 we have an internet of things era, right, which we called it as an age of the devices, right? Why? Because we are using this network, using these devices, and with the help of the internet, with the help of the net, we can use uh, right? We call it as an we are having a smart labs, smart homes, right? Smart city, the now concept comes, right? All that things are nothing but with the help of your internet of things. And after that in 2020, in decade, right, the concept again exhaustively we are using the network in terms of your internet of everything, right? Which popularly we can call it as an PPDT, means what? People, process, data and things. All these particular parameters we are using exhaustively with the help of internet, right? So nowadays now particular era, which is nothing but your internet of everything era, right? Now we will see how this particular networking can affect in our day-to-day lives, right? Popularly, if we consider this particular networking, these things as a fourth or fifth pillar of our day-to-day lives. For example, if I consider this particular sentence, which is shown, that is communication is almost as important to us as our reliance on air, water, food and shelter, and after shelter it might be your network, right? in this picture also you will see there are some social sites are there, right, which we are using exhaustively now day to day in this pandemic era also. We are tends to then network tends to the network exhaustively we are using, right, and it is the without boundaries, right. So global communication you have in your devices, right. So uh, and this is how the network is, we are relying on this particular network, right, along with our air, water, food and shelter, right. So how these network trends are there, right. So now we all know the today's world is in your collaborative world, right. So whatever you are doing right now, so it is obviously it is then fourth pillar. With the help of the fourth pillar, that is nothing but the internet, right. Of any mobile application you wanted to use, right, obviously it will be again the network will be needed, right? Any messaging apps you wanted to use, obviously the network will be needed. Now in pandemic area, in this particular lecture also we are using this online conferences, on online conferencing tools, right, webex, so zoom and all that things, which we also require an internet, right. Telepresence, ip communication, which all the whatever the networking what are the applications is there which will be required by the network, right. So how the collaboration can be done. Then next one is bring your own devices, right. With the help of the devices and devices having a network, right. So network is in your pocket, we can call it as, right. So bring your own devices. So it is nothing but the ownership of used anywhere, right. And how it will be used with the help of some of the devices, we can call it laptops, tablets, smartphone, e-readers, all you can carry with you, right. All in from all these things you can access the internet, you can use the network in this, right. So it is nothing but again a bring your own devices, which we call it as an your mobility, right. Then again the concept comes a cloud computing, you already studied in last semester, right. So cloud computing, whatever the services are there, right, whatever the services we know, that is IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, right, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, right, all are we are using over the internet only, right. And all the person, right. So in cloud computing era also we are, right. Then again, as I already told you, the smart home, the concepts are come, right. What are the devices which are there in our at our home, right, we are using with the help of cloud and the network, we can call it as a smart home, right. Again with the help of some wireless thing, right, wireless networking devices, we can connect these homes also with the business over the internet. So we can use this, all are the nothing but the trends, technological trends and the network trends we are using in this network exhaustively, right. Then we will see what is meant by the computer networks then, right, because we know now the how the network are evolving, right, evolution of network, how it will be affect in our day to day life, right, and what are the different networking trends, right. Then what exactly the computer network is, if you see this particular diagram, right, in this there are a different networking devices are there, right, some end devices are there which will be connected with some media to each other, right. So interconnection of between two or more devices, which we can call it as a network, right. And this communication media, this transmission media over each other, we are attaching all these networking devices is called as an networking, right. So from this particular diagram you come to know, right, in at your home also, if you see for example this particular router is, right, from this router this particular internet is there, and these are some end devices, right. The tab is there, the laptop is there, and some mobile devices are there, right. All these are the connected wirelessly or wired connection, and this particular network we can also call it as a personal area network, right. That is nothing but your PAN, Okay, we can see in next couple of slide how the PAN we can call it as, right? So after this, some network components are there. I wanted to show you how the network design is there, what are the different networking components are used in this particular diagram. If you see, the router and switches are there, and some server and some end devices are also there. So one thing is that you must know how the representation of network devices are there, right? For example, if you consider the router and the switch, right, there are some small differences. The switch is an rectangular, right, and there is also 4 arrows are there on switch, also 4 arrows on their or router. So don't be confused in by distinguishing between the switch and the router. This router is in round in shape, right, and all the 4 arrows are outwards direction, all 4 direction, right, while in switch all the 4 arrows are in 2 direction outward, right? That is the main differences of the representation if you considered. Okay, that you keep it in mind, because while designing a network in a network design lab, we need to identify all these things. Because I am just for example, I am saying you the just drag and drop one router, okay, then the students may drag and drop the switch. Okay, it should be not happen, right? So you must understand what is the representation structure of each and every networking devices, right? And here what the connection in between the two devices is connected with the help of some media, right, which we can call it as in some wired. Okay, it might be a wireless as well, right? So we will see how these intermediate networking devices are there, what are the different types, right? First of all, the network media, right? What are the different network media we have? We have an wireless media, we have LAN media, WAN media, right? Then intermediary devices, right? Routers, switches, wireless routers, firewalls, right? All these are nothing but our intermediary devices. And what are the end devices? The end devices nothing but which are connected to our intermediary devices with the help of this networking media. Right, so what are the end devices? IP phone, it might be desktop, computer, laptop, right? If we are using wireless media, then wireless tablet is also there, printer is also there, telepresence endpoint which we call it as, and that is also there. Okay, so all these are nothing but the end devices. Intermediary devices will be connected to this particular end devices with the help of this networking media which we all have. Right, so representation of each and every network component is must. Okay, you must understand, right? So end devices, intermediate devices, and the networking media which will be connected to this both end devices and intermediate devices, right? Then we move towards our types of the network, right? So basically you all know the 3 types are there, the LAN, MAN, and WAN. I just revised I just revised it. What is exactly the LAN, MAN, WAN is there, and also one I just explained it a few slides back, that is nothing but the PAN, that is personal area network, right? It is nothing but the interconnection of devices, right, with the environmental of an individual, right? You can see at your home, right, if your personal area, if you see, right, one router is there, right, from router the personal devices is connected. It might be your laptop, it might be your cell phone, right, wireless printer, and all that things, right? So that is nothing but the personal area network, right? Then what about then LAN, right? So LAN is nothing but your local area network, right, which is a computer network that interconnects computers, right, within a limited area, right, within a limited area. It is nothing but your LAN. So what is the distance, up to what distance the LAN can be happen? Okay, so up to the 1 mile you can use LAN. And what are the examples of it? Example of it is nothing but if you see in our college, also in college labs, right, university campuses, office buildings, right, residence, schools, you can use LAN wisely, right? Then if you next is your nothing but the MAN. Again, it will be the nothing but the larger than your LAN connections, right? They having the several LANs in the same city, right? And it's what about the distances, it is up to the 100 miles, right? And what is the example? If you consider the example of the man, it can be if you wanted to connect a different organization, right? If you wanted to connect a different companies, any government sectors or any banks, right? You can use the man there, right? As a metropolitan area network, right? Then we will move towards the wide area network. Obviously it is nothing but your countrywide or a global wide, worldwide network, right? Which will cover the distance in between the larger than the 100 miles, right? It is a very larger network, and it will be used mostly on the long distance, over the long distance, right? So this is nothing but your the WAN. Okay, and here if you consider the what do you mean by the internet, then, right? The internet is nothing but the networks of network, we can call it as internet, right? If you see in this particular topology, right, in this particular diagram, networking diagram, right? So there are different networks are there, right? One network, two, no, these are the nothing but the boxes are nothing but the different networks, and all these networks are connected with some routers here, right? So which we can call it as a massive networks of network. It nothing but your the networks, it is nothing but your the internet, right? Then we move towards some very important topic with respect to your labs as well, networking labs as well, right? If you consider all these networking diagrams, right, we can call it as an topology diagrams also, right? In these they are representing the devices within the network, right? So there are a different two types are there, basically the physical topology and the logical topology, right? So we will see what is the difference between both the physical topology as well as for logical topology. If you consider this physical topology, right, here in this first block, right, there from the internet, this internet is nothing but your ISP, that is internet service provider, right? From internet service provider you are taking internet, right? For example, this is nothing but your APS ID. Okay, if you consider with respect to our college, right, internet service provider is giving you the internet, right? It will be comes to your in lab number 318, that is centralized server room, right? In that there are some racks, network racks are there, right? In each networking rack there are a different shelf, right? So for example, if you consider this middle block, right, here they are representing as rack 1 shelf 1. In this particular rack 1 shelf 1 they are placing here the switch 3, then rack 1 shelf 2 placing here the switch 4, rack 1 shelf 3 here placing the switch as 5, right? So it is nothing but the physical location of this particular switches, right? If you consider in lab number 301, lab number 30, in every lab, right, there are at the top there are some network switch boxes are there, right, where the blinking is there, right? The green lights are always there whenever you start your machines, right? You can see the green blinking is there, right? So that is nothing but the switch, right? And that boxes is nothing but the network switch boxes, right? So that is nothing but the physical location of that particular networking devices, right? So here in each network, right, so every networking device is having some physical location, that is that notation is there, right? Rack 1 shelf 1 for switch 3, rack 1 shelf 2 for S1, rack 1 shelf 1 for R1, right? Then this is nothing but the different servers which are connected to this particular switch, and this particular switch is connected to this particular router, and from that router our ISP is connected, right? So it is overall the structure of your network, and this is nothing but your physical, right? So physical topology is what? It is nothing but the physical location of your intermediary devices and the cable installation. This cable is nothing but the media, right? Transmission media, which we can call it as, right? So this is nothing but your physical topology, right? Then what is the next concept is what is then logical topology, right? The physical topology nothing but the physical location, right? And the logical topology nothing but it is giving you a more details about your network, right? What it gives you now, it will gives you a different ports number, right? Networking devices with port numbers with its networking addresses, right? For example, this particular laptop, this particular end devices is connected to this particular S3 switch with the help of this fast ethernet, right? And what is the port number? That is 0/1. That means first port number of this particular switch this particular laptop is connected with the help of network address. Which network address it having? It having this 192.168.100.0, that means class C, right? Class C address it's having, right? So logical topology is here also. If you see, this particular network is having the network address is 192.168.10.0, right? And this is nothing but the fast ethernet port. F0/1 is nothing but the fast ethernet of first port, fast ethernet of second port, fast ethernet of third port of this particular switch, right? So all web server, image server, file server are attached with this particular switch. So in if you consider in 318, right, we have an proxy server, we have our web store cloud server, right? We have our for example FTP server, right? So all these servers are connected to this particular switch. Then this switch is connected to this particular router with the help of this gigabit ethernet. G is nothing but for the gigabit ethernet of your first port, right? So this is nothing but the logical topology, right? Okay, this quiz, so I will just post in your group the again next link of the quiz, because this link is expired now. So we will move toward the next concept, that is your reliable network. Okay, so the question is, when you will call it as and your network isn't reliable, right? For example, here some network architecture is there. For example, this is nothing but the internet. When we are accepting any request from the internet, right, we have a security firewall. Within firewall is there, right? Virtual private network firewall is there, and after this particular firewall we are connected to use our internal router, right? And this particular router we are attaching the different servers as well as the wireless LAN access point as well, right? And after this wireless access point, the end devices are connected. Here also, from this particular router you can also have a different switch, or you can directly connect to the different servers, right? It's depend on your network requirements and network architecture, right? And after that particular switch you can attach different servers or different end devices. It totally depends on you how you are use this particular networks, right? Then we will see this network architecture, how this particular network is useful, right? How it can be reliable, right? So there are 4 parameters, right? So from which we can call it as is this particular network is a very reliable network, right? So what are there? The first one is nothing but your fault tolerance, right? Then the second one is your the scalability, right? Third one is you can call it as quality of services, and the fourth one is your nothing but the security of your network, right? So we will see one by one. The first one we will see how the fault tolerance can be helped for in your reliable network, right? So if you consider this particular network architecture, right, so here from the ISP we have here the 2 routers, right? And again this particular 2 routers having attached with again a 2 new routers, and after that it will be attached to your switches, and this particular switch is attached to your end devices, right? So here what is the need of this particular 2 router, right? You can also attach from this particular router to switch, right? This particular router to switch. Then what is the need of this particular 2 routers, right? Because if you consider, while if any link failure is there, right? For example, this router to this particular switch is failed, right? Then this media is failed, then your whole network is crashed, right? Then your whole network is crashed. And if you having a multiple path, for example, if you consider this particular link is failed, right, then we have here again a new router, and it will be connected to this particular router which having connection with ISP, right. So from ISP the network is so packet is transferred to this particular router, this particular router is transferred to this particular router, and from this the your switch is getting your access, and after that the end devices can connect it, right. So there must be an multiple path should be there, so it will be avoid your fault tolerance, right. So it will be avoid your network failure, right. So the fault tolerant network limits the impact of a failure by limiting the number of affected devices, right. Multiple paths are also required for fault tolerance, right. So therefore if you see for both routers they are having a multiple path. If one path is failed, then from another path the packet get transferred, right. So it is nothing but the first parameter, first characterization of your reliable network, that is nothing but your fault tolerance, right. Then the second one is nothing but the scalability. You already I think seen in the cloud computing as well. What do you mean by the scalability of your cloud scalability, right. So here if you expand or if you remove any kind of the network from the existing network architecture, then there will be no any effect to other which are connected to that particular networks, right. So that is nothing but the scalability. Means what? A scalable network can easily expand quickly. That means, for example, if you consider in this particular diagram, this particular two networks are there, right, and I am adding this particular again a one network, one switch box here, and which will be connected to the second router, right. Then it will be not affecting to existing infrastructure, existing network infrastructure, right. So that is nothing but your scalability. It should be easily able to expand and easily able to reduce as well, right. So it is nothing but the scalable network, scalable parameter of your reliable networks, right. Now the third one is nothing but the quality of the services, right. So what is the quality of services? Obviously whatever the motto of your network architecture, it must be fulfilled. That means every end devices must get your packet from your ISPs, that is our motto, right. So all the services or whatever the packet is get transferred from the this ISP to the end devices, it must be without a without a disturbance, right. The genuine packet must be transferred without any loss of the amount of the packets, right. The receiver and the whatever is the sending from the sender, it must be received by the receiver, right. So that is nothing but the quality of the services, right. So what is the mechanism? It used to ensure the reliable delivery of the content for the all the users, right. So that is nothing but the quality of services, right. And now the last concept, last characteristics, or we can call it as parameter for reliable network, is nothing but the security, right. So here if you consider the network security, so again there are two types in this particular diagram. If you see the first one is nothing but your network infrastructure security, that is nothing but your the physical security of the networking components or networks, right. And the second one is your nothing but the information security, right. Whatever is you are transferring from the sender to receiver, that data should be your secured, right. So how the security can be achieved in using in this particular infrastructure? You can set up the username and password to the router as well, so that so that unethical access can't be done, right. Unauthorized access can't be done to this particular routers, right. So configuration can't be altered, right. So you can provide some username authentication to this particular router, so that the information security can be happen. Then how the network infrastructure security can be take place? If you consider in our college, in every lab, right, I just given the example few minutes back. So we have on every lab the switch and network switch boxes are there, right. So each network switch box is having a locked, and there is one key for that particular network switch boxes, right. Why these network switch boxes are there? To secure our network infrastructure, right? So no one can be altered that configuration, no one can be check that particular cables and the switches, right? So we have an network switch box are there, we have an lock and key to that particular our network infrastructure, right? So that is nothing but our network infrastructure security, right? And while giving the authentication to your networking devices is nothing but to secure your infrastructure as a security, right? Then how this network security can be you can managed, right? So with the help of some different solutions we have already, right? So for example, you can use the access control list to secure your network, to how to whom to give you access. You can decide, right, for which IP addresses and all that things. You can enable the firewall into your network infrastructure, right? You can use again the IDS and IPS system, intrusion detection system and prevention system, into your network security area. You can use antivirus and all that things in your personal computers, right, which are connected to this particular network infrastructure, right? So how, so in this way you can utilize this, all these services to your security solutions, right? So students, so this is all about today. So I will just again post the one link of the quiz in your group. Okay, so you just go to that particular link, and all the questions are compulsory, and you have only 3 minutes to give the answers to this that particular quiz. And so what we are completing today is we are completing the how the network evolution can be take place, then how the network affects in our daily day-to-day lives, right? What are the network different trends we have, right? What are the networking intermediary devices, end devices, medias, then types of the networks we have: LAN, MAN, WAN, and again PAN, that is personal area network. Then what are the different topology diagrams or network representations we have? We have two types. The first one is the physical topology, and second one is your logical topology. And the last point we have covered, that is nothing but the reliable networks. When we call it as a network, it is nothing but the reliable. So so there are 4 parameters, right? The first one is your fault tolerance, then the scalability, then third one is your quality of services, and the fourth one is nothing but your the security, right? In security also 2 types. The first one is your infrastructure level security, and the second one is your information security, right? So this is all about today's lecture. So in next lecture we are going to start with the OSI layers, its functionalities, and networking devices, right? So all the notes are already uploaded on Moodle. You just go through it, and okay, that's it from my side. Okay, thank you everyone.